This episode of Cognitive Dissonance is brought to you by our patrons. You fucking rock.
Hi guys, Gloria. On a recent episode, you both were talking about rape victims in some godforsaken country were forced to marry their rapist. And basically, I just wanted to say, I think that policy could best be summarized as you broke it, you bought it. Glory hole, guys.
Hey, Cecil and Tom. This is Matthew from Willow Springs. Hey, how you guys doing? Hey, I was just listening to your last episode about QED, and Tom was trying to figure out those names of those little ceramic figurines. They're porcelain, they're from Spain, and they're called lladro. It's a Spanish spelling that's got two L's in it and shit. Anyways, I got 3 of them. I was stationed in Spain, and like a little dog in a boat was $120. So, yeah, they're cute. They're really expensive, and they're pieces of garbage. Anyways, thanks. Bye.
Hey guys, it's one of your UK listeners here, and I'm just listening to episode 369, and you were talking about Space Marine chapter painting, and the way that someone would go, that's not actually the proper paint scheme for Space Marine. I've never met anyone who's that arsed about the colours, just at the painted well, which would mean that the nerds that play 40k are less intolerant than religious people, which is a weird thought, though they do probably rape fewer kids. Anyway, glory hole, and I love the show.
Be advised that this show is not for children, the faint of heart, or the easily offended. The explicit tag is there for a reason.
Recording live from Glory Hole Studios in Chicago. This is Cognitive Dissonance. Every episode we blast anyone who gets in the way. We bring critical thinking, skepticism.
Not the way.
Well, our way is the way. And the truth and the light.
Truth. Isn't it the life?
I don't know. I'm not Christian, man. Is it the life?
I think it is the life.
It's the light and the life. Aren't they the same?
No, I think it's the way, the truth, and the life. Now I'm going to type it into Google, Tom.
All right, look.
Way,
are you fact checking?
And the life. That's what it autocorrects
type
as.
light and see if anything pops up.
Okay, so life is...
I don't know.
That's John 14:6. Light.
Well, maybe this is like Eric 21.
No, it's not.
15
It
and 9.
refers you back. Google's like, no, what you meant was life.
Are you sure
What you
it's
meant
not
was
Bill 2316 or something?
That'd be awesome. There's a like a Lou 12.
Look, man, it's 11 o'clock. It's been a day.
Give me a beer. That's what it says over and over again. Oh.
We've been critical thinking, skepticism, and inaccuracy.
And the way, the truth, and the life of light.
It's the life of Bryan, the light of Bryan.
The light of Bryan.
To any topic that makes the news, makes it big, or makes us mad. It's skeptical, it's political, and there is no welcome mat. This is episode 370 of Cognitive Dissonance.
And later on in the program, we're going to be joined by George Hrab.
We are. We haven't been joined by George Hrab in far too long.
So we had a long conversation with him about Trump, and
he was pro, surprisingly pro.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It was interesting. He
was
got on a Skype call with his red hat, his MAGA hat.
He specifically said he wasn't with her. That's what he said. I couldn't believe it.
Very surprising. Very surprising.
Yeah.
Wow, so racist. This guy. You wouldn't think so.
You wouldn't think he's a racist.
You wouldn't think so. Yeah, against white people.
So. Yeah,
that's the thing too.
I know. That's the weirdest part, right?
So odd.
Yeah.
Would not have guessed that.
Yeah.
And they will say to me and others who defend the rule of law, we have to do something about the 11 million. And some of them are valedictorians. Well, my answer to that is, and then, by the way, their parents brought them in. It wasn't their fault. It's true in some cases, but they aren't all valedictorians. They weren't all brought in by their parents. For everyone who's a valedictorian, there's another 100 out there that they weigh 130 pounds and they've got calves the size of cantaloupes because they're hauling 75 pounds of marijuana across the desert.
So this first story comes from Right Wing Watch. This is Sandy Rios. This is kind of fucking incredible. Sandy Rios claims immigrants don't know basic hygiene. And I don't think she's saying that they know advanced hygiene, right? Like, I just want to be clear.
They went to a school for hygiene studies or something. No.
They're so clean they can fucking go in the Intel computer chip room with like, and it's like, they can shave in there.
I'm touching whatever I want here. Look at me.
They go in there, they shave their pubes, and they're still fine. Doesn't even matter. That's how fucking great their hygiene is.
They nair themselves. Their entire body's nared. They're like the alpaca people.
Jesus
those alpacas,
Christ.
Those people with the...
Alpaca's not a people.
Yeah, the alpaca people with no hair. They get the...
People with alopecia?
No, the alpaca people have big, long necks, too.
You know, they had hair, but someone shaved them to make sweaters.
There's a sweater person. Yeah, I call this sweater Bill.
Oh, shit.
Actually, it's more like I call this sweater Vito. All right, so this is Sandy Rios. Now, I'm not going to play the whole thing because the beginning of it is a guy talking. But when she starts talking, the magic starts happening, ladies and gentlemen.
You know, Dan, I'm out and about a lot and different places geographically. I'm sure you are too.
Well, what does that mean? I mean, can you be?
She's a mover and a shaker.
I'm in different places geographically, as opposed to what, being in different places like temporally. Like I just travel through time, but I stay the same.
But I have
spot.
to stay in the exact same spot.
What is that?
I'm like the time traveler's wife.
I'm out and about a lot. I go to the grocery store, and then sometimes I'll go to the DSW and I'll pick up a nice new pair of shit. What the fuck are you talking about? Different places geographically. It's the only way to be in different places.
There are, when you're in Washington, D.C., or if you're in like Dearborn, Michigan, or if you're in, I don't know, Orlando, Florida, Los Angeles, and I could go on. It's often like a third world country.
It is never. None of those places are like you need to go to geographically. You should go to a third world country.
It's a third world country.
Fucking ignorant buffoon.
In
Dearborn, Michigan.
Yeah, in Washington, D.C.
What was the other one she said? L.A.?
And Orlando.
Yeah. Orlando. Where Disney is.
Orlando. Where you can get a fucking ride to the park by an orca in a car. Yeah. Orlando.
I mean, I will admit, Orlando's gross. It's hot.
No, I mean,
sticky.
it's disgusting.
It's fucking full of like shitty tourist trap garbage.
It's the worst.
It's in Florida.
Yeah.
It's in Florida. It's in fucking America's diseased Wang.
Yeah.
Like, it's horrible.
It's a horror.
It's bad. But it's not third world bad.
Right. I view Northern Virginia, D.C. It's just it's amazing. It's just amazing. And then I go to other parts of the country, and it still looks like America.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Please be more racist.
What are you talking about?
Wait. She's going to be super racist in a minute.
There are so many brown people here.
I know. That's what it says. Sometimes when I go to the white enclaves of ultra-rich America, then it looks more like my fucking Mayberry imagination
Sometimes when I go to the Hamptons, I just think, thank God.
At least Martha's Vineyard is still white.
Mostly.
I mean, not the help, of course.
Thanks, Obama.
Thing has changed. English is heard, and things are running smoothly. And
English is heard, and things are running. Why, are the trains on time? Is that what you're talking about here?
Remember that American city you went to where you're like, fuck, does anyone here speak English? Said nobody ever in any place in America?
That makes me nuts, too. Because it's like, you can go to plenty of places in Chicago where they're not speaking English as the first language.
Sure.
Those places are just as safe as the rest of the city. Like I can walk around Chinatown. I could walk around Ukrainian Village. I could walk around the Vietnamese area up by Lawrence. I can go to, all these other places. And
they're perfectly safe. Perfectly reasonable places to be.
These are places that, just like, and the problem is that, people automatically assume someone speaking another language, therefore they're dangerous. You know, we talked a while back about that asshole who's like fucking, you know, the Rock Tower guy who's like, fucking, you know, that's a curse. It's a curse when other people speak different languages.
Who was that? Brian Fisher?
Brian Fisher was the guy who was like, you know, the Tower of Babel is the reason why speaking other language is a curse on humanity. And that equates to them as bad things. And she's doing the exact same thing here. She's basically like, you know, gosh, where they speak English, that's where it's civilized. Anywhere else, it's completely uncivilized. Yep. Like, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, equating speaking English with civilization is a terrible, terrible mistake. Like, English can be, you know, somebody's primary language, and they can be incredibly uncivilized. I mean, it's
go to a trailer park in the racist fucking South. You know what I mean? Like in the ultra racist South, where, you know, they have Dixie flags and
talk about third world conditions. Go to Appalachia, and you can make that that comparison, right? Go to white enclaves of Appalachia, where everybody's dirt ass fucking poor, and everybody's I mean, like, people still don't have running water, and they still don't have fucking electricity and flushies in parts of this country. Go to those fucking dirty fucking hillbilly towns. They're all fucking white. They all speak English, and that's a lot closer to a third world country than Dearborn, Michigan, where there's a high Muslim population.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Or, you know, Washington, D.C., where there's a high not me population.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Bathrooms are not, listen, I'm being very in politic here, but as a female, I find, you know, bathrooms have just become unbearable because I think a lot of the people coming in just don't know basic hygiene, don't know how to handle modern amenities. And
so how to handle they're just throwing like live chickens down the toilet.
What is
Look at it go, Mama! And spin around in a circle. Are you fucking kidding me?
They don't know how to handle like, as if he would walk in and be like, oh no, I just pooped on the floor. Yeah. I didn't know what to do.
I walked in, I saw the hand dryer, and I thought, that's where my shit goes. So I just climbed up on top of the sink and I dropped deuce right in there. So press with care.
You know what? That finally explains that every so often mysterious turd in the urinal.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. Foreigners. I will say this though. That's a guy who tried. You know, like, you walk in, you see the guy, his pants have got to be on his ankles, because if they're anywhere else,
they're in the urinal.
Right. So they got to be and I'm being real gracious here. They're at least at the knees, right? So the guy standing there, ass to the urinal, pants around his knees. If that's not a Facebook Live video, it's at least Thomas standing ovation,
right?
You know what I mean? Like, you're just like, good for you.
Have you ever I can't even imagine what I would do if I walked into a public bathroom and some dude is dropping a deuce in the urinal. Because you'd be like, well, that's your fucking dick. Like, and also, why are you pooping in the urinal?
Yeah.
Also, the only way to do that is to put your ass kind of in the urinal.
Yeah.
Like, you're in the urinal, man.
And when you're done, in your ass cheeks is the fucking urinal cake, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like you walk away with that. You walk away
it out
with
that thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, what
would you say?
I'd confront of course I would confront. The first thing I would say, well, what the fuck is wrong with you? That would be the first thing out of my mouth. Is, what the fuck is wrong with you? Are you a fucking dirty foreigner? That's what I would say to him. I would say, are you not used to modern amenities?
I'm going to speed dial Sandy Rios. She'll give you a piece of her mind.
No say el urinal, huh?
She'll be delightfully unpolitic here. Yeah. I think I would leave. I think I'd be like, too. I would be so embarrassed. I'd be like, fuck, no, exactly. I gotta go.
Well, if I was at an establishment, the first thing I'd do is I'd leave and I'd be like, there's a guy.
Yeah, there's a man pooping
in the urinal.
Right?
It'd be like if somebody's pooping in the sink or pooping in a booth. You know what's funny? I've heard so many stories about this. She's like, all these fucking people with their greasy curly hair, whatever. You know, like, they won't even let me touch their hair. What's wrong with them?
I just want to smell them a little.
But I hear they smell different. But my wife and a bunch of other people that I've worked in retail have all told the same story, that somebody will go into the changing booths and drop a deuce. That's a fucking are you going to say all those people are foreigners?
It's like,
well, in our country, we don't even have holes. But people will drop deuces in those things.
People are fucking weird, man.
Yeah.
People are just fucking weird. Everybody knows you don't shit in a fucking dressing room. You shit in a janitorial closet. Because they've got that mop bucket.
Everybody knows what you do is you go to the children's section.
Oh, my God.
And then
I'm leaving.
Well, what you do is...
that's it. Nope. Hold on. I'm done. It's been good, Cecil.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what you do is you go to the children's section, and then you actually go into the, so they have the circle of hangers and all that stuff. You just go in there, in between, in that circle of hangers.
You're a monster.
And it's like the TARDIS. It's huge in there.
You get more monsters from every
And
sound.
then, here's the thing. You have a myriad of things to wipe with right in the middle.
Or like you poop in one of those plastic playhouses.
In the balls. You poop in the balls. They poop in the balls.
Nobody wants poop on the balls.
There you go. Poop
Nobody wants poop on the balls.
No.
That's bad.
I'm talking about the big balls. The ball ring. Not my own balls.
The ball rock?
The ball.
You shall
what
not
do they call that for the kids when you just tell them to go play in the unsanitary area? What is that thing? The ball bag? What is
the
that
ball
thing?
pit, right?
Ball pit.
The ball
there
pit.
You go.
The ball bag. Go play with my ball. What are you, a priest?
Hey, kids, come on over and play with my ball bag. The Eli Bosnick story.
If anyone needs Cecil, he now has all the restraining orders. Jesus.
It's a beautiful collection.
Hey, Cecil. It's a really good thing you don't have kids,
I know, man. I know. Yeah.
No, that immune system training factory, that's what that is.
They'd be dead.
Here, go and get sick. Go catch something.
That's what it is. Yeah.
I know. Right. Yeah. It's not a matter of what they're going to get. It's or if they're going to get something. It's just like what? Like, I don't know. What are you coming out with? Norovirus this
come
time?
on, kids. You need to get more ringworm.
Right? you just puke on the floor a little bit. That'd be amazing.
But for some of the country, it's not a reality. For those of us that live in the middle of it, we see the changes and we're saying, no, we've got to control this. We've got to assimilate people. We have to teach them all kinds of things in order to make this work.
You know, to civilize the barbarians?
She's right. What they have to add to all the naturalization clashes is, okay, so this lever flushes the toilet. So you have to just press on this and it'll make it go, woo, 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 woo. And then the poopy goes down.
Lever. Like, it's not one of the Japanese, like, clamshell toys. You're like,
a difficult thing to work.
We're just like, you can figure it out by accident.
Don't we teach, like, 2-year-olds to do it? Or how old is a kid when they start peeing in a potty?
2, 3.
3?
Yeah.
You teach them how to use a potty at 3.
Right. But you think there'll ever be a wall?
I don't know. He can't do anything.
I know.
So I have a hard time imagining that they'll pass that bill to sort of make a wall. But I did hear that ICE is the stuff that they're doing now to sort of get rid of immigrants has been increasing. So it was bad under Obama. Obama was deported millions of people. But it's even worse now. They're deporting people that, really haven't done anything wrong except for enter the country illegally. And I know some people out there are like, well, that's wrong. That's wrong. But, these are people some of these people are seeking asylum, right? Like their home is unsafe for them.
Right.
And they leave that home looking for a refugee status. And the people who say, well, it's illegal to come into the country. It's like, yeah, if your life was on the line, would you be like, yeah, I'll just wait it out. I'll see if my paperwork goes through, just to see if I'm going to, maybe survive the night. This bullshit. Yeah. None of those people wouldn't do that. But you can sit on your fucking high horse now because you're fucking here.
Yeah. Through no virtue of your own.
Yeah.
Like, let's be super clear. Most of us, not all, obviously there's some people, but the vast majority of us are where we are by virtue of birth. We didn't choose it, right?
You didn't have any fucking choice in that.
I didn't make any choice. And it is an absurdity to think. I'll tell you what, I will be very frank. Like, if it's a matter of like, how are you going to feed yourself and your family? I'm going to cross a border. I'll fucking cross your border.
Yeah.
I'll fucking take a selfie, me pissing on your fucking border. I don't give a fuck. I'll feed me and my family first. I have an obligation to those people. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? I would cross that fucking border all day. You would too.
Yeah.
It's real easy to have high-minded principles about what other people should do when your fucking belly is full. Real fucking easy.
For sure. For sure.
Now, I have to tell you, it's an unbelievably complex subject. Nobody knew that healthcare could be so complicated.
And we are joined now by Geo from the Geologic podcast. Gio, it's been we were talking right before we aired. It's been a really aggressively and unnecessarily long time since we've been able to talk to you.
Much too long. It's like some kind of hospital-induced coma is what it feels like. It's been way too long, gentlemen.
For sure.
That's usually the excuse I hear.
Right? Now you're world travelers. You've been all over the globe. I'm stuck here in Bethlehem, and you guys are just, we're going to go to England. We're going to go to Australia.
Weren't you just at a conference? Weren't you just working on a conference recently?
Well, I was in New York for Nexus, which is just up the street here from me, basically.
Yeah,
but Nexus just happened, which is always a great time. Manhattan, the Fashion Institute of Technology, which is just that in and of itself. You get 600 skeptics at the Fashion Institute of Technology, and you just watch the pants just explode. It's quite wonderful. It's quite wonderful. The fanny packs are just in full force, and it's magical. It's magical.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Skeptics are typically known for their chic fashion sense.
Yes, their acumen, their fashion acumen. But it's all good. Group, it's all good. They're so uncool that they're absolutely cool, which is the thing. Yep.
That's awesome.
Those are our people.
They can discuss the evolution of the T-shirt and its various incarnations.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, really, thanks so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
I don't know why we waited so long.
I know.
I really don't. We just,
it was the court order, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think that was probably
that
part
expired.
of it.
It's like that's like a year thing. And
Okay, all right, good.
Right.
So,
and I think that's like. I think if I remember reading it, it's like a physical distance, like 1,000 yards or
true.
something.
I think. So I can't just fling that stuff again. But anyway, so we don't have to get into that. Thing. It's fine. Yeah.
So we want to talk about a story from CNN. This is, it's funny too, because just a moment ago I was thinking, I sent you the story 8 days ago, and I'm looking at it now, and it feels quaint. It feels actually quaint.
Yeah. The timeline of our, there's this sort of theory that, the reason it feels like time speeds up as you get older is because it actually does. Like that the oscillations kind of the universe are speeding up, and that we can't really tell because there's no reference, but there's something in the human animal that is allowing us to perceive time speeding up. Well, I think it's like with the election of 45, I think it even went into hyperdrive now. So that it feels like 2 days now. Yeah, because I had the same exact thought. Like, this old story from what was this, like 5 months ago? 4 months ago? No, this was Tuesday. This was Tuesday. Yeah, it's unbelievable. 5 months ago. It's unbelievable.
It's so funny. Like I feel like all I want to do is just hug my knees and rock back and forth in the shower until this is all
I just
over.
want somebody to get one of those like elephant brushes that they scrub animals with and just scrub me down Silkwood style so
nice.
I can wash
this
the
off.
Trump off of me.
Right. I think there's a business opportunity there, boys. Maybe we could have some kind of Trump scrub company or some kind of maybe. Yeah. Interesting.
Trump scrub would be amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. Kind of hot. That'd be kind of hot. All right, so here's the headline here, and we don't have to get much past the headline, but we will. Donald Trump Jr.'s latest email explanation to Sean Hannity doesn't make any sense. And really so
doesn't.
This is basically, he met with a Russian lawyer who purported to have information about the Hillary campaign. And that seems like a really bad idea, like a really big conflict of interest. And of course, they've been like, hey, we didn't meet with anyone, no conflict of interest. And then, yeah, you did. So then he says, okay, all right. And this is the quote. I didn't know if there was any credibility. I didn't know if there was anything behind it. I can't vouch for the information. Someone sent me an email. I can't help what somebody sends me. I read it. I responded accordingly.
Yeah, end of story.
And so I will say this, and then I will hand it off to you, gentlemen. I will say, like, I will agree to a portion of this, right? You cannot control what reaches your inbox, right? That's it. Like, you can't set up a filter called no Russian lawyers.
Sure, absolutely,
right?
yeah.
I mean, until you get one, then you can mark them as Russian lawyer. It's so okay, fine. But it's the "and I responded" portion of the program that he seems to have a difficult time understanding is deeply fucking problematic here.
I wonder if he has an automatic response set up solely for Russian agents. Like, so maybe it actually was out of his hands. It's a bot that he has set up, somehow, so that if there's a .ru address comes to his thing, in essence, it syncs up with his schedule. and Manafort's schedule and Kirshner's schedule, and they all meet. So it's out of his hands, really, because it's just, I don't understand technology. I have an iPhone. I don't know. It just does it. I don't know. That would be almost as sort of a possible explanation as the one that's been given of just like, yeah, so we met, I got this anonymous thing. I don't know. And this odd pride of like, I didn't know what it was. Like that excuses it. And then that it goes from being 3 people in the room to 4 people to 6 people to now 8 people were in that meeting.
Yeah, right.
I am not going to be surprised when, let's say, an hour from now, we find out that Trump himself was there.
Well, it took us 2 years to get 3 people on a fucking Skype call right now.
Right.
I got to tell you, like, when I try to organize a conference call with 8 fucking people that are like busy people, it's ridiculous. It's ordering pizza for teenagers. Like, it's an impossibility. Right. It's so insanely difficult, but they all fucking flock to this meeting.
You asked a question, Tom. You said, should you be responsible for what people send you? And you're right. You shouldn't be responsible for that. But there was a story that was going on recently where somebody brought up Gore during the campaign got some information about Bush's debate, the debate questions or something, this debate answers that he was going to give. Somebody had sent that to him anonymously, and he went to the FBI. Like, he was like, no, that's not mine. I'll give that I'm bringing that to the FBI. I'm not going to like, so yeah, you might not be able to control what you get, but you certainly can control what you do after you get it.
Okay, but hold on, because it says in his defense that he responded accordingly.
I guess that's true.
So,
I hadn't considered that.
I mean, there's that
line of argument. Yeah.
My favorite bit of that interview was that at the end when Hannity kind of says, I don't really have any other questions because we've covered it all. We've pretty much covered it all. And so that's it. That's it. And it's to watch. I actually enjoy watching Hannity in a weird way, kind of the same way that I enjoy, like, chewing tinfoil, because it's just such a unique feeling. But to sort of
I'm going to brush my teeth and have a big glass of orange juice too.
Yeah, exactly. No, in the same way that, like when an umpire in baseball has that little ball strike counter thingy in his palm, and he's like clicking, for strikes and balls. Like, I do that for every line that Hannity says. It's like, well, that's not true, click, not true, click, not true, click, misrepresentation, click, exaggeration, click. And it's just, you just sort of tally up, and when a factual statement is made, it's like, it's incredible. It's like this revelation of amidst this ocean of just complete misrepresentation and complete misinterpretation and complete just fabrication. Occasionally a line comes out that is true. And it might be something like, good evening, today's Monday. And you go like, oh, yes, oh, right. That's true.
But tell me you don't check your calendar just in case, because at this point you're like, seriously, I'm not taking your fucking word for that.
I wouldn't put it past them. Put it past them. Yeah, it's astounding. And the backpedaling too. I mean, again, if you were to transfix or transpose these circumstances with any, with either our former president or Hillary, I mean, it's and both sides say this all the time, like, oh, imagine if blah did this, or imagine if blah, and the circumstances are transposed all the time. But it's like, just, you have to try to fathom what kind of a response would have occurred on conservative radio if Hillary's daughter, let's say, had a meeting, with any foreign government, let alone Russian government.
One of the things that they talked about with Obama, one of the biggest scandals he had was he wore a tan suit.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine
fancy
any
mustard?
Of this stuff?
He used Dijon mustard. Hannity actually had a segment about President Obama using Dijon mustard, and what this said about No.
What did it say about him? Was it fancy?
He's fancy. Yeah, he's obviously this elite.
Yeah, he's too elite. Yeah,
regular American French's mustard or whatever it is not good. This is a guy who's got to use Dijon mustard.
Gosh.
Yeah, in his tan suit.
That's fair though, because I remember the commercials, the Grey Poupon commercials.
Where they had the limo or whatever.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. The guy pulls up and he says, "Excuse me, would you like to collude?" Yeah. Pardon me, would you like to collude with the Soviet Union? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, I do want, it's not in this article, but he does, another justification that Trump Jr. made, for taking this meeting. He basically said, hey, you would have done it too.
Yeah. That is one of the things that they
really
backpedaled. So what happened is initially they said the meeting never happened.
Right.
Then they found out that the meeting happened and all these people said we're going to leak the emails. And he said, well, I'll just do that for you. And so then he posted all the emails and they're like, oh, wait, the meeting happened. And he's like, oh, yeah, it did happen, but it wasn't a big deal. We didn't get anything. And then they're like, yeah, but you said you did. Oh, actually, we did get something, but it's not a big deal. And then they keep peddling. That's everything is a backpedal. Everything is, oh, yeah, well, but you would have done it too. And it's not anything. It doesn't matter that we got any of this stuff. And they just everything keeps backpedaling. And for some reason, even though they keep on sort of drawing a line in the sand and then stepping behind it, nobody calls them on the previous line.
Right. I mean, someone emails you and says, I know a great way to murder your wife.
I'm listening.
And you reply, I love it. Let's meet. And you meet and you're defending yourself in court. And basically the guy shows up and he doesn't have a way to kill your wife. And so you say, Your Honor, he didn't actually have a way to kill my wife. What's the problem?
Right.
That is the defense. That was the preliminary defense. We didn't get any. Yeah, we wanted to get some information, but we didn't get any information from a hostile foreign government. So what's the problem? And then everyone comes to the defense of it. And then very, very, very few Republican, let alone conservative government members say, this isn't cool. It's a lot of just that backpedaling, like you said. It's just this continual, it's not that big a deal. What does collusion really mean anyway?
Yeah, with a foreign government
kind of stuff.
Right now. What is define treason, really?
Yeah.
It's so funny that you say that too, because when he made that comment about a woman getting a facelift. I forgot her name. Micah, something like that.
Yeah, yes. It was the woman from MSNBC.
Yeah, from Morning Joe. Yeah. So he tweeted some insensitive bullshit about her having a facelift, bleeding still from her facelift. Right? It's a stupid thing to say. Well, he was roundly chastised by members of his own party for that, and rightly so. But on an orders of magnitude of importance, like when we're talking about, because I think like from a Trump level, at some point, like it's like okay. It's like having a shitty dog, like a really, really shitty dog, right? And it's like, all right, well, we know he's going to chew on something, but he didn't swallow the wedding ring today, so good dog, Like, so he's going to do something stupid. Like we're focusing on like stupid, minuscule, meaningless, sort of mean-spirited shit. We know he's a mean-spirited misogynist. It's not new. He doesn't even try to hide it. He doesn't even try to hide that shit. I mean, he can't even meet a foreign dignitary without being like horrifyingly
without patting her ass on the way out or something. Yeah.
Right.
But this shit matters.
The Mika thing's interesting, and the reason that there was a greater outcry at that is because a lot of these senators, a lot of these congressmen are married, and their wives are looking at them saying, "Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
like really." And that is driving them, and they have to kind of keep the peace at home. And so they respond, oh, well, this is it's inappropriate.
Yeah, but how the fuck did they skate by on the grab your pussy thing? You know what I mean? Like how does that work? Because like that's the thing that really got me about that whole Mika thing, because it's like, okay, yeah, he said something horrible and he's being an insensitive cock, and he's clearly saying you're an old broad. Like that's what he's saying. He's like, gosh, he's such a hack, and she's such an old broad, and I can't believe that they came to my place and I didn't let him come to my place, and I'm way better than them. And he's just an asshole in those tweets. But recorded is him saying, you can sexually assault women when you're rich, and it's totes fine. Yeah. And I just don't know how do you, and that's before people punched the Chad. You know what I mean? Like this is before, and now we're appalled by this, and it just feels out of place. It feels like it should be like, well, fine. He's just going to be an asshole anyway. Everybody knows it.
Yeah. It's all the other secondary things that people are upset about, even more so than that influenced their choosing, and to a lot of, understandably so, to a lot of voters, it was this idea of like, there are bigger problems than this guy being a misogynist asshole, and which is crazy to think about, but it's on another level, it's understandable, and you kind of go like, oh, okay, and it's worth the shakeup, it's worth all that stuff, and to kind of overlook it, and there's a lot of association with a guy like that. Again, it's that kind of country club mentality. Now, so I play in a band for a living. That's what I do. So I'm in a lot of wedding situations. I'm in a lot of private party situations, and I play very often in a lot of country clubs. And there's a lot of very lovely people, and there's a certain number of people in a place like that are of that kind of mindset. And I think a lot of people can associate with that kind of outward asshole where they go, well, he's really a good guy. It's like,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
On the golf course, he said some inappropriate stuff or whatever. But but actually, I know he donates to the thing. He worked at the school for a while, and he's actually an okay. You have to just let Fred be Fred. Fred's kind of it's inappropriate, and he might do a little touchy feely thing, but he's actually an okay guy. And I think a lot of people associate with that. They understand, and they see a guy like Trump, and they excuse it in that same way of like, I know that guy. Yeah, he's kind of a jerk, but he's deep down, he's all right. He's all right. And that sets the bar very low in terms of initially, and then now everything else just comes to roost after that.
Sam Harris had a guy on, the guy who does Dilbert. Draws Dilbert. I guess the guy's he doesn't bill himself as a conservative, but he certainly sounded like a conservative to me.
Yeah.
When I was listening to him. And one of the things that he kept saying was, and I didn't listen to the whole podcast because the guy is genuinely annoying, but one of the things he kept saying was, the one side gets stuck on what happened and the actual facts of something. The other side is more stuck on the emotional truthfulness of it. So while Trump will say something like, I'm going to throw, we should throw out all the Muslims. And one side is immediately like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. We shouldn't block these countries from coming in. And it's a silly thing. And how do you even institute it? And yada, yada, yada. The other side is they're emotionally attached to that idea. And they say, yeah, maybe he can't do it, but at least we agree with him.
Or they'll say like, well, it's not what he's saying entirely. What he's saying a part of that. Or you get I hear this sort of thing. It's like that, but you understand the idea.
The idea. You understand the idea.
And that kind of gets to your point, Gio. And it's a point that I think is insanely annoying, right? It's like, well, Fred, that Fred guy, yeah, he sexually assaulted the waitress, but deep down, he's a good guy. Like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not. Exactly.
Those things are mutually incompatible.
Yeah.
We are nothing more than the actions we undertake. Like, we are not more than that. We are the things we do. Everything else buttresses the things that we do, right? That's how you move through the fucking world. Like, the things we do matter.
But again, this is the example of privilege. I mean, it is the textbook Wikipedia photo for privilege. This idea of established behavior because there is a history of socioeconomic norms, or whatever you want to call it, or not norms, but the way things are set up. A Fred gets to cash in on his privilege so that he can be sexually inappropriate. But because he has 200 years of oppression behind him, he can get away with it because it's like, well, deep down, he's a good guy. It's the entire sort of fabric of privilege, which culminates in a guy like our president. I mean, it is just the ultimate example of privilege. And unquestioned privilege.
Absolutely. Look at just the two last presidents. One guy had to be the guy who did the Harvard Law Review, graduate top of your class, be like the very best he could possibly be with a squeaky clean backstory, and the other guy just had to be rich.
Yeah. Just had to show up basically.
Yeah.
With all of his baggage, without being prepared, without understanding what was actually involved, just because his dad knew people.
Yeah.
And again, another example of just ultimate privilege. And Obama has to be, I mean, again, imagine, for as harsh as this sounds, imagine a black candidate on stage with his third wife.
Yeah.
And 6 children from 3 different women.
Different wives. Yep.
That candidate wouldn't get anywhere close to the presidential
stage. That guy couldn't run for city council.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the complete double standard. Complete double standard. I mean, it's not even a double standard.
To make it worse, imagine if it were if that were a woman, white or black,
sure,
that had 3 marriages and 6 kids.
Forget
with
about
2
it.
dads.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually even more egregious than that.
Yeah.
It's just more egregious. But like, because he's a rich white dude, it's like nobody even brings it up. In fact, not only would nobody bring it up, people would say that like to bring that up would be uncouth, right? It would be like petty and small, and like, why would you talk about that? Like, you could fucking bet your fucking bottom dollar.
Yeah.
If it were a minority or a woman, that would be, it would define that
everything about them. Yes.
Yep. It would define
but you wouldn't even have to bring it up in that situation, because that would just be that understood thing.
Sure. It's
of that cliche of like, see, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And that would be it. Yeah. And that's where it ends. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about another story, because it's been 8 days, and like the amount of crazy shit that has happened in the last 8 days is, I mean, you almost can't even keep track of it all. So this is from Ars Technica, and I know we didn't send this to you, so I'll just read chunks of it. Trump wants a talk radio host to be the USDA's chief scientist. The Department of Agriculture's science will be run by someone with no science experience. The Trump administration formally named its candidate for the Department of Agriculture's Undersecretary of Research, Education, and Economics, a post that serves as the agency's chief scientist. The choice, Sam Clovis. Now, Sam Clovis is not a scientist. He is a conservative talk show host. In fact, and then I'll pass this over to you guys in a second. In fact, when he was interviewed with a public radio station in 2014, the interviewer said, hey, climate change, that's real, huh? I'm paraphrasing a little. Clovis says, and I won't paraphrase Clovis, though. Clovis says, quote, I have looked at the science, and I have enough of a science background to know when I'm being boofed. Because that's a word when you're a Clovis. Incidentally, ProPublica checks it out. Clovis has never taken a single undergraduate course in any science. Which I don't even know how that's possible.
Yeah, I don't know.
He has a DVD box set of Lost in Space, though.
Oh, the pain!
Danger, Mr. Trump. Danger. This guy's got about the same body shape, by the way, as that robot. He's just a fucking barrel.
I'll tell you what, that guy.
Jesus, he's a mush barrel.
Is it any surprise, though? I mean, I am expecting, since today's news, I am expecting OJ to be in the cabinet at some point. It's coming. It's like, would it be that crazy?
Oh.
It's coming. He's going to be the head of the FBI.
Justice Department?
Yeah.
He's going to replace Sessions.
He's going to replace Sessions. Sessions going to finally, go back on the Keebler box, and OJ is going to be the Attorney General.
He could be the transportation secretary. He knows how to drive that freeway.
Yeah, right. That's true.
No problem.
That's true. I can't believe every single one of the people that he's picking, though. The Betsy DeVos was amazing. Yeah. She's like, there's bears. You need guns for bears. And then, Sessions, of course, is an absolute racist. So it's crazy that guy gets in. And there's been so many people that he's put forth, like a fucking Rick fucking Perry.
Yeah. The guy who wanted to dismantle the thing that he's in charge of now.
Yeah.
Rick Perry.
Right. A guy who put glasses on.
He couldn't even name all of them.
And that's the one he forgot to name.
That's the one he forgot.
Once he's in, he goes, wow, there's actually a lot of responsibility here. with a total straight sort of response. He says, this is kind of an important organization here. I didn't realize this is this important. It's like, yeah, okay. That's, yeah.
But Trump said the same thing. Trump came out and said, this job's really hard.
Yeah, sure.
So hard.
Now, imagine if any one of us sort of was had something that opposite to what we had said sort of be revealed to us. Wouldn't you question your entire belief system? You know what I mean? If something sort of occurred where all of a sudden you were shown some piece of evidence that was completely opposite to what you sort of had been proposing and espousing, wouldn't you stop and go, what else am I wrong about?
Yep.
I would hope that any human on some level would respond that way. And most maybe wouldn't, which is the beauty of being a human, I guess, on some level, the self-deluding nature. But, this thing that I wanted to eliminate turns out that it's quite useful. my response would be like, what else that I want to eliminate might actually be useful? Should I take a second? Should I take a second to sort of like self-evaluate? Exactly. I'm just going to barrel forward until the next episode of Dancing on the Stars. Yeah. It's just with the stars, whatever.
People will say things like, insurance is expensive. And today, what did he say? Something like,
God, did you see the insurance thing?
Insurance is like $12 a year if you're 21.
And he didn't understand the difference between the way insurances work, different types of insurance. He relates a story about insurance that makes his understanding appear to be that medical insurance or health insurance is the same thing as life insurance.
Life insurance, yeah.
He describes it in that model.
You know what's absolutely astounding? Nothing costs $12 a year.
Right.
There is name a thing that costs $12 a year. I mean, 6 bottles of soda in a 12-month period. Like, what costs $12 a year? Nothing costs $12. Nothing, not a, what? I mean, I can't even think. I can't even think.
So true.
I mean, apart from like the interest on my savings account, maybe that's $12 for the
year. Yeah, that's right. It's such, I mean, but even like it's $12 and because there's another quote where he misunderstands how insurance works fundamentally as well.
Yeah,
where he says something like it's like $15 a month. Is it? So I've seen him throw out both of those. Now, granted, they're like literally at orders of magnitude different numbers, like 12 a year versus 15 a month. It's wildly different numbers.
Absolutely.
They're still horrifyingly undervalued. And again, he doesn't understand how this shit works. But like, this is a guy who's proposing. He's come out and said that the Republican healthcare bill is terrible. He came out and said really mean shit about it. Then he came out and said it's going to be great. Then he came out and said we're going to pass it. Then he came out and said it'll never pass. We're going to let Obamacare fail. The guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah. He literally doesn't know anything about this. And he was astonished once more. Another guy who's like, this shit's really complicated.
Yeah, this is a real
Nobody knew how complicated
Nobody knew.
Was.
Yeah. Everybody knew.
Well, don't anybody who's ever bought insurance, you asshole.
Of course. Don't forget also when Paul Ryan said, like, we can't have insurance work by having healthy people pay for sick people.
Yeah,
right.
And it's like, no, that's the definition of insurance.
That's how it works.
That is exactly how it works.
That's pretty much.
The guy putting the plan together who doesn't understand the basic tenets of how insurance works.
I feel like when I watch what Trump is doing, it feels like there's a lot of roadblocks in his way. There's not a lot that's happening. No major legislation gets passed. I know he's doing some executive orders, and he did slip a few past the goalie here and there. But for the most part, he's just inept, right? He's not doing a lot. Especially with the healthcare bill, that's an example of something that just can't go right for any of the Republican side. But one of the things that he can do, and this is going back to the story, is he can appoint people that can really fuck things up. I mean, these people have a lot of power, a wide latitude of power to do a lot of different things. Do you think that the longer we go into this presidency, is it going to get exponentially worse? Do you have a feeling like there's going to be some sort of gridlock there, but this sort of thing is going to continue to happen? And
I don't know if there's a tipping point in terms of people that want to be involved with the administration at some point too. Like, is there a point where things start getting so toxic that any appointees aren't going to want to be associated with it? Like, I already understand that it's difficult to find people that not just can do even the minimal requirements of whatever jobs that they're being appointed to, but that they need to be fully in the Trump camp and have never said a bad thing about him. And that's the scariest thing to me, is that there's always been these positions in government that are like not the top guy, not the second guy, but the one who's like 6 or 7 or 8 places down, who kind of actually runs things. And all those people have left because they're sort of had those gigs irrespective of whoever was in the White House, whichever party was in the White House. So you got some Republican guys that do that 6th or 7th position in whatever department it is. You've got some Democrats that do those positions. And now, because, the slate was wiped clean, unless you're an absolute vociferous Trump supporter who was there from the beginning of the campaign, you don't get that gig and you're gone. And so all these positions are open. Look at what happened when the Navy ship in was it in Japan or Taiwan? Where was the Navy ship?
I think it was Japan where it got hit.
It was Japan, right? Yeah. And, so, and like there's no Secretary of the Navy. I think that's correct. I'm not sure, but there's a high position in the Navy is not filled. So like there was no one to kind of report to and to try to figure out what's going on. You know, there's ambassadors that are not filled in certain countries and stuff because again, you can't find the people that are 100% Trump supporters to fill those positions because in Trump's mind, it's, you know, you have to be a complete devotee,
right?
Otherwise you don't get the gig. You know, you have to prostrate yourself in front of, you know, the Lord Emperor Trump, or you don't get the gig. And it's those positions that actually run government.
Yeah.
You know, apart from the senators and the congressmen and all that stuff. I mean, that sort of is on top, but the day to day.
Sure. The deep state. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. You know, but that's the stuff that's slowly just is kind of eroding. I mean, there's a great article about the State Department, how like there's just this malaise of like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing here?
Every day there's an existential crisis.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
Right now, while we're talking, news alert: President Trump reshuffling legal team. His fucking legal spokesman resigned. Today.
There you go.
People just like, I got other shit to do called not be associated with you.
Yeah.
Of course. And then there's got to be a point where the congressmen and senators realize that their reelection bid will be threatened. And that's when everything changes. As soon as those guys start realizing that the cards are stacked against them in the next election in 2018, that's when they can start doing different stuff. And that's when they'll start singing a different song. Right now, they are still hoping that the base will show up the way the base does and will reelect them. But as soon as those winds change, their song will change. And who knows what'll happen in terms of, you know, the healthcare bill and other kinds of bills and all kinds of, it's such a weird, precarious, self-interested balance that it's I can't imagine a month from now, let alone a year from now, like what kind of stories we'll be talking about. Because it's
days.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Gio, you just recently celebrated a 500th anniversary. You're past 500 now on your episodes.
I did, yeah. Back in February, we had our 500th show. So we did a live 500-minute long program, which is 8 hours and 20 minutes, which was... It was so really fun. I was surprised how fast. I mean, as you always say, it's like, you know, when you're working and you're doing what you enjoy, time flies. Yeah, it was one of these things where I kept like thinking, oh crap, we got to get to this. Oh, we got to get to this. Oh, we got to get to this. And there was a bunch of stuff that we didn't get to. And you know, for 1,000, I'll have to do 1,000 minutes. Maybe we'll get to everything at that point. Yeah. But it was a good time. And it was just sort of worked out. It was 10 years in February, and it was 500 shows in February. So there we were, and it's crazy. Like we were talking before we sort of started, the profile of podcasting has changed since we all began this little endeavor nigh a decade ago. It's pretty amazing.
So what would you say, like over that 500 episodes, other than talking to us, like what would you say some of the highlights have been? I mean, honestly, like because your whole career changed with this podcast. You've traveled because of your show. And so what have some of the highlights of your careers in podcasting been? On that 500 is an achievement.
I think the highlight for me, or the highlights for me, has been some of the people that I've met. I mean, and the absolute sort of virtual / slowly turning into real friendships that I've made. I mean, a guy that I met on Twitter who listened to the show, who ended up orchestrating my string quartet piece that I wrote 2 years ago, has become an incredibly close friend. Veikko, my friend from Finland, Veikko Rihu, you know, a guy that there is no reason that I should know is alive or exists. And yet I've been to his house, he's been to my house, and we've become really good friends. People in Australia, people in New Zealand, people in England, people in Canada, people in Mexico, that I consider friends. It's just been this incredible connective opportunity to meet people of similar minds, of different backgrounds. And it's been completely unexpected and a complete just bonus. I thought I would do a couple of I've told this story a bunch of times, but I thought I would do this for maybe a year. I'll do 50 shows, just to kind of 25, 50 shows, whatever, just to do it, just to see what happens. And, 10 years later, it's like all of these friendships that I have, all these experiences that I've had have just been completely unexpected. And it's just been this huge gravy boat, it's just been so good. You guys know, I mean,
for sure.
You guys end up in Manchester, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's
you
it's
talk
really
to
cool.
somebody, like you said that you're a friend from Finland, but you talk to somebody who says, I've never met you, but I listen to you every week and I hear what you have to say. And I have these conversations with you, even though you're not with me. And I feel like we're friends, and you hear that all the time. Yeah. And it's always shocking, and it's always flattering. And it's a really neat thing, this medium that sort of got democratized with cheap microphones and internet, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, I've had it's funny, over a decade, there's one listener that I think his dad kind of used to listen to the show. And when he started, he was 12. He would listen to my program. He's 12 and he's 22 years old now.
How crazy is that?
Yeah. He's like a person, a dude. He's a guy. And he'll say, like, I've been listening for, since I was a kid. I mean, and just like, you've influenced me, and you get these, I mean, I'm sure you guys get some really heartfelt letters from people that maybe are living in environments where they can't quite express their skepticism or their religious questioning. And, we are sort of like an extended family, or at least an opportunity to hear a familiar voice. Right. Or familiar thoughts, or at least thoughts that they agree with. And it's a really special, that's probably another huge surprise that I didn't quite expect, to get a letter from someone that said, I live in, the reddest of red states, and I can't tell anyone that I'm an atheist, or that I really love science, and I like to listen to your show, and you're silly, and you talk about this stuff, and it's like a chance for me to escape for 45 minutes a week. And it's meant a lot. And that, I can't explain how touching and moving letters like that are.
Gio, if people were going to find your show, where would they look?
Geologicpodcast.com is your best bet, or you could just Google HRAB, that's my last name, and the first 26,000 things are me. So,
George, it was so great having you on. Let's not do this. Let's not spread this out in the future. We'll have you on soon. Okay.
Yeah. Let's the next administration maybe, or
that could be any time. 8 days. We'll see you in 8 days.
I'll see you on Tuesday.
Yeah, it could be Pence. Who knows?
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, George.
Hang in there, boys. Hang in there.
All right.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allah.
That is how the Klingon lures a mate.
This story is from the Friendly Atheist blog. A Pakistani pizza shop owner covered his robot waitress's neck to avoid scandal. Pizza shop owner Osama Jaffrey says sales have doubled since he introduced the robot back in February. This robot looks seriously like something from,
it looks like something from Lost in Space. Lost in Space. Longer than 30 years ago. Like Buck Rogers was better than this.
Right. This looks like a shitty toy at a goddamn dollar store. That's what it looks like. It looks like a shitty fucking piece of shit toy at a fucking dollar store. It's just enormous, right? But the best part is, like, the robot waitress. It says it resembles a short, slender woman wearing a long dress and an apron. So he wrapped a scarf around the robot's neck so as not to offend conservative patrons.
But they didn't put like a scarf around the fleshlight on her, which is weird, right? You would think that would be more offensive.
But it's chafy. That's the thing. Like, it's just, that's true. You don't want to render the fleshlight like inoperable.
Have you seen the video for this?
No.
Okay, so I can't play the video, right? I don't want to play the video because it's just somebody talking. But watch the video if you get a chance. Go here. This robot is like, do you remember when you were a kid and you got the shitty remote control car, and the remote control car only had two things? It would go forward or reverse turn.
Yeah.
It would reverse turn. And remember how slow it went, where you as a kid would hit the button and you could fucking outpace it walking as slow as grandma?
Uh-huh.
That's how slow this thing goes Pequod slow, okay? This thing is like, when it shows that you're up at your table, you've already died of dysentery. You're like fucking Oregon Trail slow.
Oh my God.
It's awesome. And it doesn't actually do anything. It comes out with hot food that they put in the kitchen, and then a guy sort of shuffles alongside of it. And then when it gets to your table, then he lifts the stuff off
the robot
and set it down. So it's basically like a
tray on wheels.
It's a tray. It's a cart. It's a cart with a scarf.
These people are so easily offended that a big plastic tray.
Yeah, a big plastic
It's like, they're like, because there's somebody who's like, I'd fuck that. There has to be. It's like, and it'd be like, you're like, the fucking robot's got like fucking circuit boards everywhere. It's smoking and sputtering sparks. And dude's like over the top of it, fucking that thing, smacking the shit out of it. And he's like, what the fuck? He's like, hey, if this robot didn't want it, it should have worn a scarf.
This wasn't in the operating agreement.
He's like, comes out, he's like, did you rape my robot? Like, really? What the fuck?
I need a robot rape kit. It's just pipe cleaners.
It's so afraid of women. You're afraid of women that aren't women.
I know. It's so crazy.
So ridiculous.
Your society. But I don't know that it's afraid of women. I think it's, we want to put, we are so anxious to put women in their place that we will even put effigies of women in their place. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't want any uppity, non-gendered, plastic, woman-shaped
Let's not give these women-shaped objects any ideas. Yeah.
Can you imagine what they would have to cover up for a fucking real doll?
Yeah.
they'd have to encase that fucking thing in concrete.
Ready to stick it in the glory hole? Get links to their Facebook, Twitter, and if you still use it, Google Plus account at their website, dissonancepod.com. If you need to be all discreet about it, contact them by email at dissonance.podcast@gmail.com. Or you can call and leave a ransom message at 740-74-DOUBT. That's 740-743-6828. Want to hear Cognitive Dissonance commercial free and gain access to exclusive content, including full patron-only shows? Head to patreon.com/dissonancepod and become a patron to support the show on a per-episode basis. Love commercials? Not ready to become a patron? Give the guys a 5-star review on iTunes or Stitcher. Or tell your buddies in the drunk tank about the show. We want to send a big sloppy glory hole to all the patrons and people who rate us. You fucking rock.
All right, this is Right Wing Watch. I think there's a misstatement in the title. It says, Kevin Swanson, Katy Perry's promotion of lesbianism will drive her fans, and crazily enough, it says to suicide rather than to masturbate. So I don't, super weird. I'm not sure how you spell check must have made a change there, but let's listen to Sackcloth and Ashes, Kevin Swanson, bemoan Katy Perry's lesbianism.
Well, as we think about apostasy, I want to close the program by comparing two very important popular singers and the trajectory that they've taken, Katy Perry being the first, taking a trajectory towards much apostasy. And she has been in the press big time in her Christian apostasy since she called herself a non-Christian in 2014. She said, I am not a Christian in 2014. That was 3 years ago, several years after she abandoned her parents' worldview and her parents' church. And she said, I got tired of singing Amazing Grace and began to write songs relating to lesbianism and encouraging young teeny bop and 13-year-old girls towards lesbianism. And that,
because every lesbian out there has heard a song either by Katy Perry or by, I don't know, Heart. Like, what else?
Melissa Etheridge.
Yeah, Melissa Etheridge.
He's worked up about that I Kissed a Girl song.
I think
from
so, still. Yeah.
Like, seriously, that song came out like a fucking million years ago. Nobody even. I had to go back in the memory bank to even figure out what the hell he was talking about.
But the sequel to that song is "I Strap On to Girl." It's a very different song.
It is.
Yeah.
I have that on my rotation. Yeah. It's the only song I listen to when I work out. Actually, that's work out. I work out for about 3.5 minutes.
That occurred in 2008. So Katy Perry's Apostasy came out full force roughly in 2008, and she has confessed to it over the last couple of years. But just over the last week or so, Katy Perry has admitted that she has been in therapy now for 5 years and suffers from depression and suicidal thoughts.
So do lots of people.
So yeah, and
so do fucking tons of hetero people.
So do a lot of performers.
Right.
That's one of those things that like performers sort of like suffer from a lot.
Yeah, depression is not even remotely unusual.
Yeah.
Depression and suicidal ideation at some point, it's more than 50% of people will suffer from some form of depression, and suicidal ideations are not at all uncommon. Not at all uncommon.
Yeah, and it's also a silly thing to say, because it seems like he's saying the reason why it's brought on is because of her lack of godliness and her impure thoughts and all that stuff. And it's like, no,
tons of hetero Christians are fucking depressed.
Yeah, tons of atheists are depressed.
Right,
just people are depressed.
Nobody's immune.
Yeah,
like everybody's brain is a fucking meat.
Yeah,
right. That's where like clinical depression, like actual clinical depression, is a result of meat problems. Like it's just like your fucking kidneys don't work the same, or your fucking heart doesn't work the same. It's a meat. Your brain's just a meat, and sometimes the meat works weird. That's all this is.
Yeah,
like that's all that's happening. The meat got weird.
Yeah.
So you go treat the meat or beat the meat. That helps depression.
I don't know.
I don't know if it does.
I don't think it does.
I've been trying.
But it's so depressed lately.
I get depressed like twice a day sometimes.
That seems kind of ironic as well. You abandon the one who is life himself. When you abandon life, that's called death.
That's fucking profound.
Thank you.
Wow. Thanks for your fucking deepity, dipshit.
No, and she has embraced nihilistic form. I think she has walked over the line of despair. First, you begin with decadence, then you move rather quickly into despair. And this,
why not stay in decadence? That's way better.
Yeah, decadence does seem better. Like, it's a lot of chocolate in decadence,
right?
Yeah. Man. You get like thick cake and ice cream.
I want to hang out.
Hot fudge.
I'm right there.
Yeah, sounds delicious.
This is where modern music has gone. Now, it took about 100 years to make it this far. Back in the 40s and 50s, there was a bit of decadence. There was these songs about...
My Bethy, you have some pantyhose on today that are mighty fine.
It's so fun. This is that fucking it was better way back when bullshit.
Remember when we used to sing in the rain?
Right. Yeah, it was always like people were always worried about dancing and singing. People have been worried about fucking dancing and singing since people fucking figured out how to dance and sing. All dancing, not all dancing, but much of dancing is simulated sex. Like it's a fucking courting ritual, right? Like we're not that much different than those goddamn birds, like those big fucking flighty ass birds. They're just like like trying to get a mate.
Yeah.
That's what that shit's for.
Sure. Lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer in which Nat King Cole would watch the girls go by. Mm-hmm. So there was a little bit of decadence in the 1950s, more so in the 1960s, and then decadence goes...
plenty in the roaring 20s. I just want to throw that out there. Also plenty in all the time throughout all of history. I fucking hate you.
Full-fledged in the 70s and 80s. Well, by the time you get to the 1990s, the pop music that is almost entirely nihilistic, in which there is almost no meaning, no purpose. In fact, the encouragement is to young people not to embrace any kind of meaning or purpose at all. And that was the worldview of Nirvana. And Kurt Cobain, of course, the leader of that band, committed suicide in the early 1990s.
What does that have to do with anything?
I'm struggling desperately to figure it.
There's a guy fucking from Lincoln Park killed himself today.
Yeah, well,
the guy from Lincoln Park.
He was probably an atheist.
And the guy last year, that Chris Cornell guy, didn't he kill himself last year?
Also a lesbian. Mm. He was probably a lesbian. Right. All lesbians, Cecil. All those men were lesbians.
Now, that worldview has become more prevalent as the years go by. Of course, singers will begin with the decadence, but eventually work their way over towards the lyrics of despair. And that's what you see in Katy Perry's most recent album. In her new album,
I've listened to it hundreds and hundreds of times. I'm explicating it like fucking 19th century poetry.
What the fuck?
This is a dude obsessed with Katy Perry.
Another guy who's obsessed with somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
Witness, she brings out a litany of her psychological problems and pleads with somebody to help her to get through.
Yeah, fucking, it's crazy that a singer's singing about themselves.
Yeah, no shit, right? I was gonna say the same thing. It's like, what else do fucking singer-songwriters do?
Yeah.
That's what you fucking do.
Yeah. Fucking Taylor Swift wrote about her boyfriends.
Just fucking poets write about themselves all the time.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Fucking that's like unless you're like doing some fucking epic story poem, like that's what, like it's no fucking surprise. Like that's what art is. Art is an expression of the interior self.
Yeah.
Her psychologically tortured life. She's caught in a cage, a complex cage. Am I a car on fire? Will I be devoured? And so forth. She has come to the point where she's not kissing girls anymore. She's about to commit suicide.
She's kissing cars that are on fire. It's crazy. It's crazy.
She's got her own TLC special.
There she is. She's eating a pillow on the side, and then she kisses a car.
I like to make love to burning automobiles.
There was a guy who supposedly, I don't know how true any of that
I don't know
stuff
either.
is.
Like that strange, was it strange sex
addictions? It was strange addictions or something. My strange addiction?
Yeah, my strange addiction, I thought, was the people who ate non-food.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, that was a bunch of other stuff though.
That was I Eat Weird Shit. I think I don't remember what the title.
I don't know what the title of that is.
The guy who wanted to fuck the car.
My Strange Addiction, I think, is the guy.
That's what it was?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was mixed up.
Guy was addicted to his car or in love with his car or something.
Yeah, and he would get down on the
caress it and like climb on it and like lay the hump on it.
Yeah. I know. It's so weird.
This was not in the user agreement.
It wasn't even a nice car.
Yeah.
You know, he would.
That's the thing too. It was like a fucking like a Cavalier or something.
It's just a regular.
It's like a
boring
fucking
car.
just some boring car. You're like, I understand. Like, okay, you got a fucking Bugatti. Okay, yeah, you want to lay on that car and turn it on and make it go purr, and then it might jiggle your balls or whatever. That's fine. But it's just it's like a fucking it's like a 21-year-old Jeep. It's just like, who cares?
You know, if somebody had tied a scarf around it, maybe
it would be a different story, Tom.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Oh my fucking God. All right, this story's from The Hill. GOP representative asked NASA panel if there were ancient civilizations on Mars. That's not actually the whole thing.
No.
Because he doesn't just ask the question.
Right.
He then doubles down on it with the NASA guy. Is like, no. So I think we can listen to this, Cecil.
It kind of is what he said.
And the NASA guy's just like, he's embarrassed for him. The NASA guy's embarrassed for him.
I think if you don't cringe when you listen to this, then something is clearly wrong. You're either Alex Jones or you're this guy, right?
Right.
So here we go. This is this guy talking. He's Representative Dana Rohrabacher.
But one last thought. I would hope that, again, I think the moon is close by, and whatever we can actually get a benefit out of going back there, we should, before you take the next step. However,
what the fuck does that even mean?
The moon is close by.
It's not on the fucking way anywhere. It's not you're like, oh yeah, fucking dumb man. You know what I really needed was Doritos.
I know. I just
and so I
swing by the moon.
Swing by the moon.
See if we can get a moon rock. What would it get out of going to the moon?
I don't know.
What does the moon have? Like what? We've been there. We walked around. It's dusty. It's moony.
Right.
That's it.
There's nothing there.
Look out, moonon.org. Moonon.org. What the fuck? It's time to go.
Before you take the next step. However, the most important thing was if Mars, can I ask permission for 1 minute for this question? And that is, you have indicated that Mars.
Okay, here comes, guys.
It's going to be amazing.
Fasten your fucking seatbelt.
It's going to be amazing.
Because this fucking giant of intellect is going to ask the best question.
A duly elected representative.
God. Mars was totally different thousands of years ago.
Yeah, everything was. Hold on. Everything was different if you go back in time. It's not like there's anything that was just like, it's pretty much the same thing. If you go back far enough in time, Everything was different.
You realize he said thousands, though, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Thousands of years ago, it was the same.
Yeah.
Is it possible that there was a civilization on Mars thousands of years ago?
That kid behind him is like, did you believe he just said this?
Right?
Can you believe this guy's my uncle?
So the evidence is that Mars was different billions of years ago.
Okay. The guy's like, here, let me cover for you here.
Right.
It's not thousands.
Let me help.
It's billions.
Yeah.
They're like each other in that they're numbers.
With zeros.
Zeros on them. One has more.
Thousands of years ago.
Well, yes.
And there's no evidence that I'm aware of that.
Would you rule that out? That's
the best part. Would you rule it out? There's no evidence. Would you rule it out? He's telling you no. He's being nice about it.
I wouldn't rule it out. Tom, come on. We can't rule it out. We haven't been to Mars.
It's true.
We don't know.
We've only landed little drivey cars there.
Right. And the thing is that maybe under layers of dirt is the skyscrapers of Mars, and we haven't seen them yet. Maybe. We can't rule it out.
We can't. So we should definitely speculate wildly about things we have no evidence for, and then take the lack of evidence as the possibility of, maybe there's flying sharks that used to live on Mars billions of years
hold on
ago.
A second. So if we have a lack of evidence and then we speculate on the possibility of it, is that how heaven works?
That's why it's real. That's how you know heaven's real.
Some people, well, anyway.
I would say that is extremely unlikely.
He's trying not to laugh. He's trying so hard not to laugh right now. He's like,
nice. Look at this guy just like, he's looking at the camera like, do you believe this shit?
You know what? I'm looking at this guy and it says doctor in front of his name.
Yeah.
And he's just like, fuck.
Yeah.
Fucking, this is home and use my day.
His name's Dr. Farley, and he'd rather be in a van down by the river.
Right?
Okay. Well, thank you all. Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks for the good job you're doing. God bless.
Thanks for the good job. I don't understand what you do. The moon's close by. We should swing over there.
Go to the moon just on the way.
Pick up a pack of smokes or something. I don't know.
Go to the moon. The moon. The fuck is on the moon?
The only thing's on the moon is shit we left there last time.
Yeah, the only thing on the moon is like a reflector that we sometimes bounce a laser off of to show how far away the moon is.
It's some shit
and
we
that
litter.
We were there.
Right? It's our litter, our garbage.
I know.
We left our moon
There's
trash.
A flag up there. So we want to thank all our patrons, but of course we want to thank our most recent patrons, Louise, Deborah, Jack Knopf. I have to mispronounce it in order for the joke to work. Jack Knopf, Jonathan, John the Ginger Scotsman, Michael, Adam, Joseph, and Julie. Thanks so much for your generous donations. We really do appreciate all the donations that we get. And you're the reason Glory Hole Studios exists. We want to put we're going to call an end to the 2 contests that we had, Tom.
We are.
We wound up putting together the top 10 videos that people had sent us for their childhood commercials. And we put together this top 10 list. We're going to put it on this week's show notes, 370. Some of these commercials are just laugh out loud funny. The fucking Texas Lawhawk is outstanding.
Where he's got a flamethrower.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Woman, there's another one with a woman who she's from like Mississippi. She's like, hey! And she like talks for a minute and I don't understand anything. And then she's like, tell him about a catfish. And the catfish is like, herba derba derba. It's fucking amazing. Then there's like a bunch of others in there.
The guy selling the fucking the trailers, and he's just like, I don't give a fuck if you buy one of these.
That one's awesome.
One time, my wife's boyfriend beat me in the face with a fence post.
Another one is this car salesman who was a gynecologist in Cuba. It's fucking amazing.
He can barely.
It's so funny.
He snaps his gloves.
Oh, he's fucking amazing. So there's some really go through 370. We're going to post each one of these. Some really funny stuff. We actually sent out about 5 shirts to people on Twitter that we said, these are just amazing. So thanks for everybody who sent them in. We watched them all. I tried to comment on everyone that came in, but they really turned out good. We also have our finalists for the call to prayer. Each one of these people will be getting shirts. The fifth place one was the rooster call to prayer. The tied for third place are Steve Miller and Flash Gordon. Then the second place one was the yodeler. And then finally, the first place one, of course, was the Klingon, right? Which was amazing. I'm going to put all those in our rotation. So throughout the year, you're going to be able to hear those. I'm going to put those all into our rotation, along with a few others that were really highly rated. We're going to take them, throw them into our call to prayer thing, so we always have more and more of those. Like we say, we're going to open it up back again in December. I already set an alarm in my phone, so I know this week that we're recording that this is when we're going to start telling people to start sending them in. We'll probably collect them for 2 weeks, play a bunch of them, and do the exact same thing again. We also want to mention too, and this is our fault. We were on a show a while back. It's our fault we didn't mention it before. We were on a show with Eli called Left at the Valley. Now, Left at the Valley, we're going to put a link to it on this week's show notes. The reason why we'd initially, the night we recorded with them, this was several weeks ago, we were on this show and we wound up recording with them. But what happened was we weren't given like a time frame in which the show was going to come out. So I didn't want to tell people ahead of time that we were going to be on this show. Instead, I wanted to make sure that the show was already out so I could direct you to it. And when that happened, it was like 3 weeks ago or something like that. I just forgot in the successive weeks, and we went on vacation in that time. And so it threw everything off, but I wanted to mention they were nice enough to have us on.
They were great. Very great.
We had a great time on their show. So check out their show. We're going to put a link on this week's show notes to the episode. You can check out their show. It's on Blog Talk Radio. So we want to talk about a little bit of email that we got. We got it from a bunch of people. They all sent in this Alex Jones video where some guy sings what Alex Jones says like Bon Iver.
This is amazing.
It's fucking amazing.
It's so fun.
We're going to put a link on this week's show notes to this if I can find it online. Somebody sent it as a video. I don't know. Maybe I can load this video. Somebody sent it as a downloadable video. I'll either do that or I'll send a YouTube of it or a Facebook post or something. But I'm going to try to find it and post it on this week's show notes. It's really fucking funny.
It's really good.
Really well done.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. We think about the potbelly goblins. Fucking amazeballs. We got a message from David, and David sent in an article, and we're going to put this on this week's show notes. This article is Prince Philip gaffes. If you remember last week, we had Marsh on.
Right.
And Marsh was talking about Prince Philip saying like they smell different or whatever.
That's terrible shit.
Can I touch their hair? There's a bunch of things in here that this guy is he's just culturally the least sensitive guy, but he looks like Fish from Barney Miller after he's been dead for 30 years.
You know what he looks like? Honestly, to me, he looks like Count Olaf from the Lemony Snicket Series of Unfortunate Events movie.
Yeah, okay, sure.
That's what
I did see that.
Did you really?
I did see Lemony Snicket. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Somebody had really highly suggested it. And I thought it was more like a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I was bored.
Oh my God. Yeah. I can't imagine it would be your kind of movie.
I was bored.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
But he looks like Jim Carrey's character, who is designed specifically to look evil and old and shitty.
Old and awful.
He looks just like that.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a caricature villain.
We got a message from this is from Horatio, and he says, after the news about the woman and the baby suicide attack, I was wondering, do suicide women get 72 virgin men in the afterlife?
How disappointing is that? 72 guys that pop in 40 seconds.
And the guys that are just like, does it feel like a bag of sand? And then the other question is, and what about the baby? And he says, is he getting his 72 virgins or she?
Right.
That would be weird. Yeah, it would be weird, Horatio. I'm not sure about the baby. Maybe the baby gets like I don't know, like
72 binkies,
like 72 Castle Grayskulls or something. I don't know. We got a message from Kippy's, and Kippy sent in this video. It's like a GIF of a Neopolitan bombe, Bombe, which is
Neapolitan brownie bomb.
Yeah, it's a brownie bomb, and it's basically a bunch of ice cream inside in layers in Neapolitan with a brownie layer on the top and the bottom. Why wouldn't you just fucking get a brownie and then scoop a fucking piece of fucking Neapolitan on it. Like, this seems like so much fucking work. It seems, you watch this fucking thing, what they do, and I'm not gonna post this, but what they do is they fucking bake a thing of brownies, right? And then they line a fucking bowl with the brownies. Then they pour in strawberry ice cream and spread it all around, freeze it. That clearly has to take some time. Take it out of the fridge, then put in vanilla icing in another area, like hollowed out area. Freeze it again, then put in chocolate, freeze it again, and then put a lower brownie layer on the bottom. Flip the fucking thing over and dust cocoa on it. That takes fucking fun. Are you kidding me?
It's an all-day event.
Are you kidding me?
You have spent all day for something that's going to taste exactly like taking a brownie and putting ice cream on it.
Neapolitan ice cream at that.
Right.
Here's what you do. You take that bomb and then you just throw it away. You just throw it in the garbage.
It's a bomb for sure.
That's a funny
you break that thing out and you're like, is sweaty from having fucking spent all day working on
video,
thing.
though. Could you imagine if you were at somebody's party and they're like, they just made like a beautiful, like fucking, like a beef Wellington or something. They spent a whole day on, I made the puff pastry myself. And then you show up and there's like these beautiful Daffinois potatoes and everything else. And then they're like, oh, and I made this other garbage. I fucking knock it off the table onto the ground. And then I kill them. That's what I would do.
You're the worst house guest ever.
I go through more hosts that way.
That's why I never invite you over for dinner.
I don't blame you.
Fucking cold cuts. That's all you get. I didn't make them. I don't care if you like them.
Here's your Neapolitan ice cream. I'll burn your house down, motherfucker.
Such an irrational response. I'm feeding you dessert. I thought you were cool. All right. So this is, I love this. Dalton sent us a limerick. There once was a man named Dave who kept a dead whore in a cave. And though he had to admit that she smelled like shit, but think of the money he'd save.
Oh, God.
It's so gross.
That's nasty.
I just love me a good limerick, though. I'm not going to lie. I love me a good limerick.
So we got a message. This is from Carrie, and Carrie said she had two comments about last episode. First is she was just as floored about the child care. She said, if there was child care and I could take my kid and go hang out with adults, holy shit, that'd be amazing. We were blown away.
That's
child care at QED. Crazy.
Right.
Just crazy.
Yeah.
It's worth buying an overseas ticket to go to QED.
It would be cheaper to buy your kid a ticket to fly to fucking Manchester than it is to get them fucking childcare for the weekend.
Exactly.
That's not even that untrue.
And it's right. You're right. It's not even that untrue. Right. Yeah.
A 3-day weekend, you're dropping $300-$400.
And you could just, if your kid's like 12 or 13, they could sit on your lap the whole way.
The people look at you weird.
No, but it's a family affair.
But you know what? What you do when they look at you weird is just lock eyes.
Don't
lock
turn
eyes.
away.
Don't turn.
Don't turn
right?
away.
Just
and be like,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I bet it'll get weirder for you before it gets weird for me.
And then, secondarily, Carrie says, so if religion is a genetic factor and there's no way to control it, wouldn't it become society's responsibility to make the person who is indoctrinated into the most benign, peace-loving religion as possible? I think that's a really interesting way, an interesting thought, because last week a listener had said, what do you guys think if religion wasn't controllable? If it was a genetic disposition, how would you guys feel about it? And we both had to admit that we would feel very differently about religion.
You have to grant that.
But at the same time, you would say, let's try to make sure that religion is as benevolent as it possibly can be. Because, malevolent religions help no one. You know what I mean?
The only problem is that society could never agree on which was the religion of peace.
Right. Yeah.
We
really wouldn't.
We really are struggling with that already. It's
really wouldn't.
Religion of peace.
So we got a bunch of images from Aaron, and we can't post all these images, but Aaron, we're going to post the first one because it's fucking
so
funny, but it's such a bad joke.
It's just genuinely I keep laughing, though.
A bad joke, but it's so funny. It's like if Garrison Keillor had a dirty streak, that would be a joke.
This would be the joke. Say. But I got to tell you, Aaron, I laughed. It was one of those things where I laughed, and like a couple of minutes later, I was like,
it's really
it just
funny.
Grabbed me again.
It's a Trump picture. Great. Check it out. It's on this week's show notes 370. So we want to thank George Hrab from the Geologic podcast. What a great guy. Just genuine, generous with his time. A funny guy, an insightful guy. We had him on for a long time to talk about Trump this time, but an insightful guy, a great skeptic, great member of the community, and somebody who you should listen to his show. So check it out. It'll be on this week's show notes 370. You can check out all links to his stuff. Also, a very good musician. So check out his music too. A really excellent musician. He has a great band and he also does solo stuff. Check it out. All that stuff will be on this week's show notes. That's going to wrap it up for this week. We're going to leave you like we always do with the Skeptic's Creed.
Credulity is not a virtue. It's fortune cookie cutter, mommy issue, hypno-Babylon bullshit. Couched in scientician, double bubble, toil and trouble, pseudo quasi alternative, acupunctuating, pressurized, stereogram, pyramidal, free energy healing, watered downward spiral, brain deadpan sales pitch, late night info docutainment. Leo, Pisces, cancer cures, detox, reflex, foot massage, death and towers, tarot cards, psychic healing, crystal balls, Bigfoot, Yeti, aliens, churches, mosques and synagogues, temples, dragons, giant worms, Atlantis, dolphins, truthers, birthers, witches, wizards, vaccine nuts, shaman healers, evangelists, conspiracy, doublespeak, stigmata, nonsense. Expose your sides. Thrust your hands, bloody, evidential, conclusive. Doubt even this.
The opinions and information provided on this podcast are intended for entertainment purposes only. All opinions are solely that of Glory Hole Studios, LLC. Cognitive Dissonance makes no representations as to accuracy, completeness, currentness, suitability, or validity of any information, and will not be liable for any errors, damages, or butthurt arising from consumption. All information is provided on an as-is basis. No refunds. Produced in association with the local Dairy Council and viewers like you.